And hello world, this is going to be the HUD video update. All it takes is one of you to make a post. I always love seeing comments, and so this is going to be a video on the HUD that I illustrated a while back. I'm going to take you through step by step on how to get yours to look like mine. For any other specific reasons, you may as well try it out and mess around with it. But for this video, we're just going to show you guys, or I'm going to show you guys how to make your HUD look like mine. So for the static reasons, let's go ahead and go into System. Let's go down to Character Configuration, and let's go to the Display Name Settings. No, not that. Let's go to Hotbar settings. So this is what you should have on your screen. I made it nice and big so you guys can see it. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So this is what you should see. The pet hotbar is useless as of Shadowbringers, so you may as well delete that from your screen. Hotbar 1 should be a 12 by 1. Hotbar 2 should be a 1 by 12. Hotbar 3 should be a 2 by 6. Hotbar 4 a 4 by 3, 5 should be a 12 by 1, 6 should be a 12 by 1, 7 should be a 6 by 2, Hotbar 8 should be a 12 by 1, 9 should be a 2 by 6, 10 should be a 12 by 1. You should have your displays just like this: display recast timers, hide unsigned slots, disallow display hotbar numbers, disallow enable hotbar cycling button, disallow include pet hotbar when cycling, and enable drag and drop repositioning. You don't obviously need all those, but just go ahead and get what you need from them. We're going to enable display both the pet hotbar and the cross hotbar. That's this guy up here, I believe. Display both pet hotbar and hotbar 1, and then automatically replace cross hotbar 1 with pet hotbar when mounted. All this stuff really doesn't mean a whole lot. It's just there for the illustration reasonings, I suppose. So hotbars, we're going to enable hotbar 8, 5, and 10. Now for cross hotbars, just enable all of them. This way, every single job that you go to, that you unlock, that you play with, they're all going to stay in the same location every single time. So let's go ahead and go to cross, enable cross hotbar. That's this guy up here. Always display cross hotbar, display, and then just remove the use pet hotbar, which is pretty much useless. Enable the rest of those. Let's go down to cross hotbar control. Click toggle on hold. D-pad and all that stuff is just for extra reasons. I play on PC, so that works for me. And custom, this is just extra stuff, extra flair. Disable hotbar 8 for enable customization for when a weapon is drawn. The drawn stuff is pretty much cosmetic, so I'm not going to include that into this video. And let's go ahead and jump into the HUD itself. If I'm missing anything, just let me know in the comments, but this is my HUD. Okay, so from the top left all the way down to the bottom right, we're going to have main menu, very small in the top right corner. I put it up here right next to my fraps. I'm running 60 frame rates per second, so right next to that is my main menu. Down below that is my hotbar 8. Again, you can have your hotbars assigned to whichever one you can. If you want, you can have this as hotbar 1. That's just up to you. So hotbar 8, and then 5 and 10, straight in a row, right under one under each other. So to the right of this, I have my notices. This is where my loot pops up. This is where my challenges, my new location, notifications. This is where it all pops up. So to the right of it is my limit gauge. This guy needs to be there at all times. You're running through raid content, this guy needs to be at a very favorable location so you can see it very easily. Right below the notices and limit gauge, I have my pet hotbar. You can move this guy anywhere you want. I have it disabled as of Shadowbringers, like I mentioned before. This is pretty much trash. You don't need this to have. You can put your new game plus guide pretty much anywhere you want. I don't use this. This is pretty much non-existent, but you guys can do with it what you will. So to the right of my limit gauge, on the right side, I have my mini map. Mini map, you can put it wherever you want. I make it pretty slow, pretty small and slow, because I don't really need it during dungeons. I like to grind dungeons, so this is pretty much non-existent. I can just pull out my big map button, and this is pretty much irrelevant. But this is where I like to keep my mini map. I used to have it down here on the bottom right corner, but this is a better place for it. So on the top right corner, I have my server info. That is the best place to put it, right next to the guild, which is on the farthest right corner. And right below that is the experience bar. Once I have everything at top level, I will disable this, but that's where that goes. Right below that, between the mini map and the crossbar, which is to the right, I have my inventory grid. The reason why I use my inventory grid is because I can just click on the furthest left action, and that'll take me straight to the character screen. I rather use this, or just click on the character, go down to the character itself, because I use the C button for something else. As you can see down here, I'm using the Astrologian because it has the most amount of buttons on the screen, so I can show you guys kind of like the best example for this HUD layout guide. To the right of it, I have my cross hotbar. Naturally, this is basically where I keep all of my crafted recipes, or etc. Miscellaneous things, like for map reasons. This is nice because it gives me an array of extra buttons that I can use, and I'll keep them nice and small so they don't get in the way. So below that is the duty list. So this is typically where you would keep things like your party queue from Duty Finder, things like fate trackers once you get within range of fates, etc. So below that we have the Alliance 1, Alliance 2. This is great if you're a tank or a healer. You definitely want to know the status of the other two alliances. And below that is my party list. I make this as large as possible without it being too large and overbearing on my screen. So right next to this is basically the actual hotbars that I use to put on my skills. So this is hotbar 2, right to the left of the party list Alliance 1. Hotbar 2, I basically just put situational off globals, things like rescue, pretty much rescue, things like what's this other one called? Put on something like a tactician, things like bards, minuets, nature's men, things that are situational for DPS as well as tanks and etc. that are definitely not used as much as they should be. Low blow is pretty much useless up against most bosses late game, so they're mostly up here. They're very far away from the center screen, so I won't be using them as often as I should. Let's move on to the next hotbar. So right to the left of the hotbar 2, there's a small little segment here for the enemy list. You can move this up a little higher, closer to the mini map if you want, but I like to keep it just around the center because I don't want the enemy list to be too far from the center of the screen. The center of the screen is where I keep my cursor. That's where this cursor is, very close to the character, so I can zoom out and click whatever I need to do. But I don't want it too far out because I want to manually be able to click on the mobs as need be. And right below that is the focus target bar. Now the focus target bar is basically what you exactly mean. You focus targets, so you can go ahead and right click focus target, and I can see myself without actually clicking my character. You can do this with your chocobo, with your party members, with someone random out in the field. Keep tabs on them and their status as well, not just their health. Moving on to the next one is right below that is hotbar 6. So this is where I would keep my big global or off global high priority skills. So I'm on Dark Knight right now, so my Living Dead or Walking Dead is on here, as well as my Shirk. I'm used to Shirk on here because it's a very high priority off global that you would need as a off tank. You need to get yourself, or main tank I should say, you need to get this off immediately. So I want it nice and big so I can see it. I don't use shift keys. I honestly don't like using shift keys because it puts too much strain on my fingers, and I have very severe pain on my wrists, and that's not going to get any better over time. It's only going to get worse. I know there's a word for it, some kind of terminology, but I don't remember. So below that is the Hotbar 9 and Hotbar 3. These are pretty much spaced out the way that they are now because of the bottom sections. I keep those very separated into segments of 2 because most tanks, they have 2 off globals or 2 mitigation abilities that should be kept together, so that's why I set those up like that, and I spread them apart so they don't look conspicuous. Right below that we have ourselves the rest of the accumulated hotbars, which is Hotbar 7. This is typically where you would see the sprint, my tank abilities, pretty much any bigger buttons that I may have missed with the other hotbars. So these big hotbars right here, Hotbar 6 and Hotbar 7, are pretty much for big buttons that I definitely need to see, like that limit break. And right inside we have other hotbars, or pretty much the blood gauge, any of the single individual job buttons. I would keep those right in here. Unless I need to obviously make them bigger, but I would still keep them right around this area. So to the left of it is a very very specialized segment. We have our target info status, which covers up a very large portion of the bottom middle section of the screen. This is technically the most important part of this video, is the target info status. This guy needs to be right here. I don't even want to click it. It has stayed there since I changed this hotbar. This guy basically shows me the target status in a very large, fine-tuned way. And I did it this way because the status, they show from the top right corner. So right here where my cursor is, that's where they start to pop up. But they go all the way across, and if they actually manage to go all the way to the end, then they go down here right before it actually hits the status effects. Those are my status effects. I keep them this way so they're large on the top, and then I can see mine on the bottom. Right under it is the status effects. Those are mine. You can see those. It stretches all the way down to where the sprint button is, and then right above that is the target info HP. You can calculate this via something like a raid tank's HP. It's pretty simple, straightforward. Right below the status effect, I have my target info progress bar that I can see what they're casting, if I'm able to avoid it. I can see a tank buster coming my way, etc. You get the idea. To the left of my target info status, I have my hotbar 4. This is typically where my mouse buttons are. And I can also keep in tabs of any kind of like raid food or medicine that I need to use. I typically put it here. There are 3 extra buttons on the furthest left corner that I typically put my raid food at. If I don't need it, I just remove it. Right below that is the scenario guide. If there's any new content out, that's where it'll be. To the right is the progress bar. So this is my progress bar. I like to use this because running through casters, this is what you're going to get. So if the progress bar is too far to the left side and it won't finish and I'm under a telegraph, this is what it's going to be indicated as. To the right of that is the Hotbar 1. This is typically the main focus of having something like a melee class. That's where you would have your 1 through 5 on your keyboard. You would have QE, I believe, if I'm correct on this, and then you would have ZX, and then V. I believe C is over here, right next to my key buttons, and then this would be F, and then R. So all the way on the far right would be R, and then F right next to it. And right above that is, of course, my parameter bar, my HP, my mana, RIP, TP. We'll see you next time. And hopefully we'll never see you again, because that was a very annoying state. And of course, Sprint, we'll see you next time as well. Hopefully never, because you used to rob TPs out of melee severely. So if I missed anything, just let me know. And that has been my HUD video. We'll see you next time.